Hello, Excellencies, honorable ministers, distinguished guests, and friends. Welcome to the 9th annual meeting of the Friends of the Task Force of the margins of the High-Level Week of the 77th session of the UN General Assembly, which we are doing right now. And we are welcome all our participants who are joining us today virtually for this meeting. This meeting is organized by the government of Uruguay and the World Health Organization with the support from Luxembourg, the International Development Law Organization, and the Secretariat of the WHO Framework Convention on Tobacco Control. I am very delighted to say that this meeting is co-chaired by Dr. Miguel Arsketa, Director General in the Ministry of Health of the Uruguay, and Dr. Tedros, the WHO Director General. So for today's meeting, we have the agenda, and let me say a couple of words. After the opening remarks from our distinguished co-chairs, Dr. Miguel Arsketa and Dr. Tedros, we will give you an update of the work and achievement of the UN Interagency Task Force. We also have a very important person, testimony person, who is living with the experience of NCDs, who will share about his experience and he will address the keynote speakers. It will be also followed by the panel discussion. And at the end of our meeting, we will have the award ceremony. So it's a great pleasure for me to follow with our agenda. We have a lot of participants. Thank you very much for joining us today. And let me invite Dr. Arsketa to provide his opening remarks. I just want to remind you that we have interpretation in English, Spanish, Arabic, and Russian. Please select the preferred language on the options. And my great pleasure to invite Dr. Arsketa to provide his opening remarks. Over to you. Thank you.
Muy buenos días. Muchísimas gracias, querida compañera. Un agradecimiento muy grande de parte de Uruguay a la Organización Mundial de la Salud y al equipo de tareas interinstitucional de las Naciones Unidas para la prevención y el control de las enfermedades crónicas no transmisibles en el lanzamiento de este Fondo Fiduciario Mundial. Las enfermedades crónicas no transmisibles son la principal causa de morbimortalidad a nivel mundial y afectan desproporcionadamente a países de ingresos medios y bajos. Esta situación no es ajena a Uruguay, donde las enfermedades cardiovasculares, el cáncer, las enfermedades respiratorias crónicas, la diabetes, las condiciones neurológicas y los problemas de salud mental representan las principales causas de años de vida perdidos por muerte prematura. De la misma manera, el consumo de tabaco, la hipertensión arterial, la glicemia y el colesterol elevado, la inactividad física, el sedentarismo y el consumo de alcohol son los principales factores de riesgo generadores de años de vida saludable perdidos. La pandemia por la COVID-19 evidenció la urgente necesidad de abordar las ENT y sus factores de riesgo, en particular en las personas más vulnerables, que no solo afrontan una mayor carga de enfermedad, sino que además están más expuestas a gastos catastróficos generados por las enfermedades crónicas no transmisibles. Sin embargo, vemos con mucha preocupación que estas enfermedades y sus factores de riesgo aún no cuentan con la asignación de recursos adecuada, incluso en sistemas que brindan cobertura universal de salud. Uruguay ha implementado una serie de políticas para abordar los factores de riesgo de las ENT, incluyendo una agenda integral para el control del tabaco, acciones para la promoción de la alimentación saludable y actividad física, así como regulación de productos alimenticios poco saludables. Ha sido pionero, además, en la creación e implementación de un programa de salud cerebral. Por otra parte, en el marco del Sistema Nacional Integrado de Salud, que brinda cobertura universal en nuestro país, se han utilizado esquemas de pago por desempeño a los prestadores, sujetos al cumplimiento de ciertas metas relacionadas con los objetivos sanitarios nacionales. En particular, se han establecido indicadores de las metas ligados a la prevención y el control de los principales tipos de cáncer, la hipertensión arterial, la diabetes, el infarto agudo de miocardio y los accidentes cerebrovasculares. Finalmente, Uruguay estableció hace más de 40 años un Fondo Nacional de Recursos que brinda cobertura financiera universal a procedimientos de alta complejidad, a dispositivos y medicamentos de alto precio, a todas las personas radicadas en el país. También es importante mencionar que existen grandes retos para aplicar algunas de las intervenciones más efectivas para la prevención y el control de las ENT, y que a su vez podrían ayudar a financiar su abordaje, ya que las medidas fiscales siguen siendo a nivel mundial de las menos aplicadas, aun cuando existe una gran cantidad de evidencia y fuerte consenso a nivel internacional sobre su efectividad cuando se aplican sobre el tabaco, las bebidas alcohólicas y los productos alimenticios poco saludables. Un reto aún mayor es lograr que las autoridades en materia económico-financiera de los países destinen parte de estos recursos al sistema de salud. Hace más de 4 años, el Diálogo Mundial de la Organización Mundial de la Salud sobre alianzas para el financiamiento sostenible de la prevención y control de las ENT convocó a más de 300 personas en la búsqueda de soluciones sostenibles para alcanzar la meta 3.4 de la Agenda para el Desarrollo Sostenible. Y a pesar de que se expresó que el financiamiento para las ENT aumenta la equidad, mejora la productividad y debe ser parte de la cobertura universal de salud, también se dijo que el seguimiento de los compromisos de la declaración de la primera reunión de alto nivel de la Asamblea General de las Naciones Unidas, año 2011, ha sido en general un fracaso a la comunidad global y aunque lo sigue siendo hoy en día, se ha avanzado en algunos sentidos. Esto es una de las principales razones por las que la Organización Mundial de la Salud y las Naciones Unidas proponen la creación del Fondo Multipartito para catalizar acciones para las ENT y salud mental, o Fondo Salud para la Vida, al que Uruguay se incorporó como socio fundador, dando continuidad a las recomendaciones de la Comisión Independiente de Alto Nivel de la Organización Mundial de la Salud sobre las ENT y buscando mantener la más alta prioridad de su prevención y el control de la política sanitaria y de desarrollo a nivel nacional y mundial. Uruguay entiende que sin el financiamiento suficiente, las ENT van a seguir poniendo en riesgo el desarrollo de los países, que además fue afectado por la pandemia de la COVID-19. Este fondo está orientado principalmente a responder a las demandas de países de ingresos medios y bajos, incrementando la asistencia técnica de las agencias de Naciones Unidas y generando movilización de recursos propios de los estados, esperando que las instituciones financieras, los donantes y las entidades privadas libres de conflicto de interés también contribuyan para alcanzar la meta 3.4 de los Objetivos de Desarrollo Sostenible. El fondo multipartito, por el cual estamos hoy sentados aquí, puede impulsar la urgente respuesta a las ENT mediante la aplicación de las mejores inversiones o Best Buys de la OMS, que son una herramienta fundamental para garantizar la sostenibilidad a largo plazo, en particular la aplicación de impuestos saludables y otras políticas multisectoriales. Además, el fondo podría ayudar a grupos de países para incrementar la cooperación sur-sur y triangular en temas que pueden ser abordados de manera conjunta. Estimados participantes, Uruguay entiende que la creación del fondo y este día, 21 de septiembre, es y será un hito en la respuesta mundial a las ENT y a los problemas de salud mental. Muchísimas gracias.
Excellencies, honorable ministers, dear colleagues and friends, I thank Uruguay for co-hosting today's event and for your leadership on NCDs of.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for providing opening remarks, and we highly appreciate the efforts of Uruguay on the area of NCDs and mental health. Colleagues, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Svetlana Axelrod. I am the director of the Global NCD Platform in the WHO headquarters. And I will start the opening remarks, and then it will be followed and moderated by my colleague Nick Benatvala. So let me ask our technician to put the video address of the Director General, Dr. Tedros, with the opening remarks of our meeting today. Please.
Excellencies, honorable ministers, dear colleagues and friends, I thank Uruguay for co-hosting today's event and for your leadership on NCDs over so many years. I also thank Luxembourg, the Secretariat of the WHO Framework Convention on Tobacco Control, and the International Development Law Organization for co-sponsoring this event. In the past 2 decades, we have made real progress in the fight against non-communicable diseases. Globally, the risk of dying prematurely from NCDs declined by more than 1/5 between 2000 and 2019. But in the last few years, many countries have lost momentum, and premature deaths from NCDs are increasing. It's time to get back on track. Every preventable death from NCDs is a tragedy. We must do more to curb critical risk factors. Although tobacco use is declining steadily, the prevalence of obesity is rising, and harmful use of alcohol remains high. Mental health continues to be neglected. Almost 1 billion people globally experience a mental health disorder, and around 700,000 deaths each year are due to suicide, a leading cause of death in young people. The COVID-19 pandemic has only made the fight against NCDs harder. About 1/3 of countries saw service disruptions for hypertension, diabetes, asthma, and cancer treatment, and 22% report disruptions for treating cardiovascular emergencies. In the first year of the pandemic, the global prevalence of anxiety and depression increased by 25%. The Interagency Task Force on NCDs has supported more than 40 countries through joint missions and projects to curb the harmful use of alcohol, develop investment cases for NCDs, strengthen services for mental health and tobacco cessation, and advise on health taxes. The task force is now intensifying its support for member states in the use of digital health technologies for the prevention and control of NCDs and mental health conditions. I thank the European Union, the Gulf Health Council, the Russian Federation, and Italy for their support for the task force. With UNICEF and UNDP, WHO has also established the Health for Life Trust Fund, a global financing partnership to provide catalytic grants for low and middle-income countries for treatment and prevention, enhancing regulation, and modernizing health systems. The fund provides the best opportunity to support a one UN response to NCDs and mental health toward country-led action. I urge member states and development partners to contribute. I'm also delighted that today we're awarding 18 organizations with a task force and WHO Special Program on Primary Health Care award. Thank you for all your efforts to save lives. We have come a long way, but much work remains to be done. There is no time to waste. I thank you.
Great words from our Director General, and we are now ready to start our discussion. I'm very happy to give the floor to my colleague Nick Bonatvala, the head of the Secretariat of the UN Interagency Task Force, who will moderate our discussion. I see that we have more than 300 participants, and the colleagues are joining us, so it's very nice to have everybody and welcome for our meeting. So Nick, over to you, please follow our meeting in your hands.
Thanks very much, Svetlana. Good morning, everyone, and let me add my welcome to yours and others. We are going to be really short on time, so we're going to have to push through as quickly as we can. And in the first instance, I'd like to have a short update on the work of the task force to be given by Alexei Kulikov from the Task Force Secretariat. Alexei, would you like to kick off?
Thank you, Nick. Excellencies, honorable ministers, distinguished colleagues, friends, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Non-communicable diseases and mental health are not about death, but about life, and moreover about health and wealth. The task force is committed to support member states on their road to SDGs in their quest for healthier populations and more prosperous future. This year's task force's report to ECOSOC made a number of recommendations, including to continue support countries to develop strategic responses to NCDs and mental health, working with bilateral, multilateral, and other development partners to mobilize resources for the new multi-partner trust fund, including identification of new and innovative ways to mobilize resources. Supporting member states in intensifying the use of digital health technologies for the prevention and control of NCDs and mental health conditions. Today, we are formally setting out the new task force strategy for 2022-2025. It has 4 strategic priorities that you can see on the screen. The strategy, which includes a monitoring framework and logic change model, will be evaluated before the 4th high-level meeting on NCDs in 2025. Supporting countries mobilize resources is a key element of the strategy. The UN Partner Trust Fund, Multi-Partner Trust Fund, also known as the Health for Life Fund, was established by WHO, UNDP, and UNICEF in 2021 in line with previous ECOSOC resolutions. There is a significant demand. Some 25 member states have reached out to seek financial support from the fund. And we are now mobilizing resources for the fund with a view to raise $250 million over the next 5 years. Kenya, Thailand, and Uruguay are founding partners of the fund, helping to ensure the fund is fully capitalized and that it is keeping to its mission and principles of responding to priorities of low and middle income countries. The task force calls on member states and others, including philanthropies, foundations, and civil society organizations, to contribute funding, knowledge, and technical resources to ensure fund is a success. On the technical assistance front, agencies continue to use their briefs on how to respond to NCDs. They remain critical instruments in supporting governments to scale up action during the pandemic. The task force has also been working to support countries incorporating NCDs into their funding requests to Global Fund, in line with its financing policy on co-infections and comorbidities. Forging partnerships and promoting innovation are key elements of the new task force strategy as well. In the past year, we have intensified our cooperation with WHO, ITU, Google Health, and Meta. We are also exploring opportunities with Web3 and blockchain through a partnership with Unexia. These partnerships will be supporting the development of digital health business case for NCDs and mental health to showcase the cost effectiveness of digital health interventions at the country level and support the work of Health for Life Fund. Despite the challenges of COVID-19, we have undertaken a number of country missions and continue to scale up whole of UN support to countries in their response to NCDs. Last year, for example, the task force facilitated a mission to Uganda to support the government and local partners to protect population from the harms of alcohol. A similar mission is planned in Nepal in the coming weeks. As part of exemplifying ever more effective UN system, the task force's strategy will promote a human rights-based approach to the prevention and treatment of NCDs and mental health, including undertaking task force missions to support member states in this area. Under the joint WHO-UNDP flagship program, more countries continue to receive NCD and mental health investment case missions. In the last year, mental health cases were launched in the Philippines, Uzbekistan, and Kenya. Tools are also being developed to support countries implement health taxes. New approaches for area-specific investment cases continue to be developed at the request of member states. For example, harmful use of alcohol, digital health, air pollution, and clinical NCD interventions. Investment cases are catalyzing action in countries, for example, improving strategy, collaboration, and cooperation, as well as strengthening fiscal and other measures for effective NCD and mental health responses. Here are some examples of policy changes following investment cases. More examples, along with the relevant reports, are available on the task force website. We continue to scale up whole of UN responses in a small number of countries who received task force support in the past. Areas of actions are those where the UN system as a whole can make the biggest impact. This slide shows the focal areas and lessons that have been learned. As always, task force annual reports to ECOSOC, which describe work in more detail, are available on the task force's website. I thank you for your attention. Nick, back to you.
Well, thanks, Alexei, for highlighting just a few elements of the task force's work. I just remind everyone that there is the Q&A facility at the bottom of your screen. Please do use it. And if you need any responses, then please leave your email address so that we can get back to you. Excellent. Now, as Svetlana indicated, it's our pleasure to introduce Huari Ojefi, who's going to speak about her own experience of living with mental health condition in Nigeria. So over to you.
Thank you very much, Nicholas. Distinguished guests, I must thank Uruguay, WHO, and the UN Task Force for NCDs for having me. My name is Hawa Ojefo, a Muslim woman, a Muslim Nigerian woman, a Muslim Nigerian woman living with a disability, a Muslim Nigerian woman living with a mental health condition. And I do not say this merely to play with words, but to introduce you to a glimpse of the nuance of being me. See, I was a very happy child. I laughed loudly and I was nicknamed Parrot. I talked a lot about the world, its wonders, differences, and more. After I got raped in my own bed, I stopped talking. The world went dark and I lost my voice. I suffered from nightmares, hypervigilance, and I also lost my self-esteem. I had to see my abuser every day for nearly a year. Was there justice? No. When I started to oscillate between extreme bouts of euphoria and severe feelings of hopelessness, my head lit up, but not with the voice I once lost, but with voices of rage, pain, and a cry for justice and fairness. 3 times I have nearly ended my life. It seems my work is not done yet. 1 in 4, over 60 million Nigerians, service user. I am more than a number, more than a token at the table. I am a whole person, a being with dreams and aspirations. So why do people like me get shamed for the differences we possess? Why does the same system that disables us degrade us with mere tokenism as if we were being done a favor? Living with a mental health condition in Nigeria means not knowing if or when to seek support, not knowing the language to express the range of emotions you feel, and not having the social and financial support to access the quality of care we deserve. Many statistics show that there is 1 psychiatrist to about 200,000 Nigerians. or rather 200 psychiatrists to over 100 million Nigerians. It could mean being at the mercy of abusive mental health practices like caning, shackling, forced detention, and having absolutely no agency in making free and informed decisions about your mental health. There is hope evident in the work we do at She Writes Women Mental Health Initiative, my organization, and incredible support of organizations like WHO, Human Rights Watch, Disability Rights Fund, African Women Development Fund, and more. I have made history by being the first person with a mental health condition to testify in that capacity before the Nigerian National Assembly on the rights of people like me. Our collective efforts stepped back an abusive bill and an invitation to not merely be at the table, but to be championed and to champion and be consulted every step of the way of decisions that affect us. Our work has barely begun. We're still a long way from ensuring the fundamental freedoms of people with mental health conditions. We must all work together to ensure that all who interact with mental health care are treated with dignity and liberty. And that starts with interrogating the image and the narrative of people with mental health conditions like myself. I am Hawa Udefo. I am indeed 1 in 4. I am one in over 60 million Nigerians. Yet I am more than the numbers. I am a subject of rights, not an object of pity. Thank you very much for having me again.
Thank you so much. That was very powerful. And it's a challenge for us to follow that. Thank you so much. Let's move over now to our keynote speakers. And I hope that we've got the Minister of Health, Gulnara Bakirova, online. I know that you've had difficulty in connecting this morning. Are you around? Are you there? Do we have Kyrgyzstan, the Minister of Health, present? Okay, well, we'll continue to see if they join us a little bit later. Let's move over to the Minister of Health from Bahrain, His Excellency, Dr. Jalila bint Sayed Jawad Hassan. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen. At first, I would like to express sincere appreciation for the invitation to be part of this side event, which highlights the importance of the prevention and control of non-communicable disease agenda. The government of Bahrain maintains a strong commitment to preventing and controlling NCDs, which impose considerable health, social, and economic burdens. The newly launched 2022-2025 Task Force strategy is very promising, and the Kingdom of Bahrain acknowledges the coordination role played by UNICEF and to streamline country engagement with the United Nations on the NCD-related SDGs toward coordinating collective and aligned response across all actors. It is worth mentioning that Bahrain has established the needed coordination mechanism to support multi-sectoral actions for NCDs with representation and regular engagements from around 12 concerned sectors, ensuring a whole of government and the whole of society approach. Furthermore, the National Health Plan 2016-2025 focuses on significant investments toward the strengthening primary health care, achieving a universal health coverage index of 71 during 2019. Another success is the digital health information system, which facilitates improved data planning and wider service delivery and data for action. We know that Bahrain ratified the FCTC in 2006, and a tremendous work has been underway ever since to implement it through different work streams, such as issuing of laws, formulation of a national anti-smoking and tobacco committee, implementation of selective excise tax on tobacco products, which raised the taxation of retail price, implementation of pictorial health warning, offering help to quit smoking as part of primary health care, and banning of advertisement and promotion of tobacco products. We see a great value in our efforts and experience, as Bahrain has played a significant role in partnering with other countries in the region, sharing the best practices and learned lessons. Moreover, Bahrain has participated in key regional and global platforms to advocate and promote health system resilience to address NCD challenges. Kingdom of Bahrain acknowledged the UNICEF and UNDP for support in the development of Bahrain NCD investment case during 2021, which highlight air pollution, urban design, and cost-effective intervention. We extend our appreciation for the role of Gulf Health Council in coordinating these efforts across the GCC. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a global urgency in implementing impactful and cost-effective intervention to address the non-communicable diseases and mental health conditions for their association with COVID-19. Bahrain's response to pandemic will remain a success to build on, especially in relation to NCD during this pandemic. We believe that the UN Health for Life Fund will enable countries to accelerate integrated response to NCDs, mental health, and related conditions, and further advance health systems. We express congratulations to all winners of the 2022 task force and encourage innovation that will support countries and enable them to progress toward universal health coverage and sustained developmental goals. At the end, I reiterate our commitment to ensure that all citizens and residents receive the care they need. We extend our sincere thanks to the United Nations Interagency Task Force. As we thank Uruguay for their collaboration with WHO in organizing this productive event. Many thanks for the co-sponsor of this event and my fellow speakers. I wish you all continued success.
Thank you very much indeed, Minister. I don't know whether or not we've got our Kyrgyzstan colleagues online at the moment. If not, we will move over to the Executive Director of UNICEF, Catherine Russell.
From conflicts and other crises to the intensifying impact of climate change and the COVID-19 pandemic, children and adolescents today face multiple threats to their health and well-being. These risks include a rise in non-communicable diseases, NCDs, including a troubling decline in mental health among children and young people all over the world. UNICEF and our partners are working with governments to reduce the risk factors associated with NCDs and to help countries in strengthening primary health systems to prevent, identify, treat, and manage NCDs in children and young people. But to reach every child at risk, we need to do more. That's why UNICEF is so excited to be partnering with WHO and UNDP to establish the Health for Life Fund, a global funding platform designed to help low and middle-income countries scale up responses for NCDs and mental health, especially among the most underserved children and adolescents. The Health for Life Fund is at the forefront of innovation in inclusive health financing in an evolving global health landscape. UNICEF calls on all member states, foundations, and other development partners to join us in helping Health for Life Fund achieve its immense potential. We know what we have to do to make progress against NCDs and help every child survive and thrive. Let's do it together.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Executive Director Russell. Let's move straight on to the General Manager of the Gulf Health Council, His Excellency, Mr. Suleiman Al-Dakhil. Welcome.
Thank you, Irnet, and good مساء الخير على الجميع أصحاب السعادة الكرام. إنه من غاية سروري أن أشارك معكم جميعا في هذا اللقاء لغرض حشد الموارد والدعم التقني لتحقيق أهداف التنمية المستدامة المتعلقة بالأمراض غير السارية والصحة العقلية. وأود أن أعرب عن امتناننا للدعوة الموجهة للانضمام إلى هذا الحدث الهام. أصحاب السعادة، يعمل مجلس الصحة لدول مجلس التعاون منذ أكثر من 40 عاماً على تعزيز التعاون بين الدول الأعضاء في المجال الصحي، ولله الحمد فإن الإنجازات في مجالات الصحة الوقائية والعلاجية والتأهيلية كانت كبيرة، وهي شهادة حقيقية على ما يمكن تحقيقه عندما تعمل جميع الدول معا لمواجهة التحديات التي تهدد الصحة العامة بشكل عام. ولقد سعدنا في مجلس الصحة لدول مجلس التعاون بالتعاون مع فريق العمل المشترك بين وكالات الأمم المتحدة ووزارات الصحة في الدول الأعضاء من أجل تمويل وتنفيذ مبادرة الاستثمار في مجالات في حالات الأمراض غير السارية لجميع الدول. وكانت الشراكة مع فريق العمل المشترك بين وكالات الأمم المتحدة مؤثرة ورائدة لجميع دول مجلس التعاون. ولذا فنحن نتطلع إلى الجهود المشتركة المستقبلية في المشاريع المستمرة. ولقد عملنا بنجاح مع فريق العمل الأمم المتحدة على تطوير التقرير التجميعي المشترك لمجلس التعاون الخليجي بأكملها، ولهذا وأظهرت لنا نتائج تحليلات الاستثمار في الحالات أن الأمراض غير السارية هي أكثر من مجرد قضية صحية، فهي قضية تنمية مستدامة. ففي منطقة دول مجلس التعاون الخليجي تكلف الأمراض غير السارية اقتصاد بلداننا الخليجية حوالي 3% من الناتج المحلي الإجمالي في الإنتاجية المفقودة وفي الإنفاق على الرعاية الصحية. وهذا قريب من تأثير كوفيد-19 على اقتصادنا في عام 2020 وفقا لتوقعات صندوق النقد الدولي. كما كشفت دراستنا الاقتصادية التي أجريت مع شركائنا الأمم المتحدة ووزارة الصحة في الدول الأعضاء أن الاستثمار الآن في التدابير الموصى بها من شأنه أن ينقذ ما يقارب 300,000 شخص ويجنب خسائر اقتصادية تقدر بقيمة 14 مليار دولار أمريكي على مدى 15 عاما. ففي مقابل كل دولار أمريكي واحد مستثمر الآن سنحصل في دول مجلس التعاون الخليجي على 5 دولارات في المقابل على مدى 15 عاما قادم. ولذلك فإن تخفيف عبء الأمراض غير السارية في منطقة دول مجلس التعاون الخليجي لن يساعد فقط على إنقاذ الأرواح، بل سيساعد أيضا على تحقيق الرؤى الاستراتيجية لبلداننا بإذن الله. أصحاب السعادة ضيوف الكرام، على مدى السنوات الماضية اتخذ دول مجلس التعاون ودول الخليج العربية خطوات مهمة لتحديد أولويات العمل بشأن الأمراض غير السارية، مثل إنشاء لجان وطنية معنية بالأمراض غير السارية وتنفيذ المعلومات التغذوية بشأن الوضع العلامات الغذائية، واعتماد استراتيجيات مكافحة التبغ مثل التقليد البسيط والضرائب الانتقائية، ووضع أهداف محددة متعلقة بالأمراض غير السارية في الخطة التنفيذية الوطنية. وكانت دول مجلس التعاون من أوائل الدول التي صادقت على اتفاقية منظمة الصحة العالمية الإطارية لمكافحة التبغ في عام 2005، كما أنها قدمت خدمات الوقاية من التبغ ومكافحته. ولا يزال بوسعنا أن نفعل المزيد من خلال زيادة الجهود المبذولة لتحسين النظام الغذائي وتعزيز النشاط البدني ومكافحة تعاطي التبغ. يمكننا القيام بالمزيد من الاستثمارات في المبادرات التي بدأناها والتي أظهرت نجاحا واسعا في نطاق مكافحة الأمراض غير السارية. وقد تكللت الجهود الجماعية لدول الخليج في إنشاء المركز الخليجي للوقاية من الأمراض ومكافحتها، والذي صدر أمر إنشاءه من المجلس الأعلى لقادة دول مجلس التعاون لدول الخليج العربية في قمة العلا المنعقدة في يناير 2021. ومن المتوقع أن يلعب المركز دورا محوريا ومهما في تنسيق جهود دول المجلس في الوقاية من الأمراض ومكافحتها، سواء كانت الأمراض السارية وغير السارية. وختاما، نتطلع إلى العمل معا لمكافحة الأمراض غير السارية وحالات الصحة العقلية من خلال فهم كيفية اتباع أنماط صحية وتحسين الطرق التي نعمل بها والطرق التي نخطط بها لجهودنا وننسقها ونعمل بهذه الطريقة أن نساهم في التمتع بصحة أفضل وأن نعيش حياة أكثر سعادة وإنتاجية للأجيال القادمة. وشكرا لكم.
Thank you very much indeed, Suleiman, for your intervention and for being with us today and for your support over the last few years. Thank you. Let's now turn to Hualing Xu, who is the UN's Assistant Secretary General and UNDP Director of Bureau for Policy and Programme Support. Thank you so much for being with us today. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Nick. I hope you can hear me.
Clearly, yes.
Yeah, thank you. Excellencies, distinguished delegates and guests, UNDP is honored to join the UN Task Force on NCDs and partners at this important annual event. More than 2.5 years into the COVID-19 pandemic, the need to invest in NCDs and mental health has never been clear. COVID-19 continues to disproportionately impact those with chronic diseases and underlying health conditions, affecting about 1/4 of the global population. And I will not enumerate the detailed impacts of the COVID-19, but just to point out that since UNDP published its Human Development Index 30 years ago, we've seen for the first time a decline in Human Development Index, in fact, 2 years straight. It just shows how serious the impact of this pandemic is, and for those who have underlying disease conditions. So we believe that scaled up investments for NCDs and mental health are crucial to shore up defenses against the pandemics, regain lost ground on the SDGs, and the commitment to leave no one behind. There are 2 things we can do. First, we must capitalize on key opportunities to integrate NCDs, mental health, and tobacco control into development plans and strategies, including addressing pandemics preparedness and response efforts and climate action. Secondly, NCDs and mental health need a direct and dedicated investment and action. NCDs represent over 60% of the global disease burden and account for 70% of deaths, yet receive less than 2% of the development assistance for health. At the same time, NCD investments by national governments remain insufficient. The Health for Life Fund is an important mechanism for ensuring stronger coordination and partnerships across the UN system to more effectively support member states in scaling up actions on NCDs and mental health. UNDP is proud to have partnered with WHO and UNICEF to establish the Health for Life Fund. We are committed to seeing that it is sufficiently resourced to realize its full potential for countries and communities. Finally, let me say that investments in NCDs work. UNDP is working in close partnership with WHO, the UN NCD Task Force, and the Secretariat of the WHO Framework Convention on Tobacco Control to support 69 countries on NCDs and mental health. We estimate that government policy actions supported to date will save more than $8 billion in economic losses in 2022 alone. So friends of the task force, many of whom are here today, have been crucial in achieving such results. Western NCDs work. UNDP remains committed to addressing NCDs and mental health to ensure a more equitable, healthier, and sustainable future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed for that, Hualing, and for UNDP's leadership and support in the task force and in the trust fund. Thank you very much. Now, I understand that we do have the Minister of Health from Kyrgyzstan online. Are you there?
Да, я с вами.
Fantastic. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. I'm sorry that you've had difficulty in connecting, but it's great to have you here. Over to you.
Уважаемые друзья, коллеги, Кыргызская республика твердо привержена профилактике НИС и борьбе с ними. В стране, где каждая вторая смерть вызвана сердечно-сосудистыми заболеваниями, борьба с НИС и их фактором риска имеет решающее значение для устойчивого развития и обеспечения того, чтобы Кыргызстан полностью реализовал свой социально-экономический потенциал. Партнерство между межучрежденческой целевой группой ООН и Кыргызстаном было продуктивным и результативным. В 2016 году в Кыргызстане работала совместная миссия по разработке программ под руководством целевой группы. Миссия представила важные выводы и рекомендации по укреплению многосекторальных ответных мер Кыргызстана по борьбе с НИС. В 2017 году целевая группа оказала поддержку Кыргызстану в разработке национального инвестиционного обоснования НИС. В отчете подробно описано, как НИС ежегодно приводят к потере почти 4% валового внутреннего продукта страны, и как преждевременная смерть, болезни и инвалидность от НИС влияют на социально-экономическое развитие Кыргызстана. Важно, что в нем также подчеркивается ожидаемая окупаемость инвестиций в профилактику НИС и выгоды, которые принесет стране реализация этих экономически эффективных мероприятий. Инвестиционное обоснование НИС стало важным инструментом адвокации для Министерства здравоохранения, поддерживающим политику и меры, направленные на устранение факторов риска НИС. Например, оно помогло привести аргументы в пользу повышения акцизов на табачные изделия. Новый закон о табаке, принятый парламентом в 2021 году, был в значительной степени основан на данных инвестиционного кейса. Мы рассчитываем на сотрудничество с целевой группой для обновления инвестиционного кейса по НИС, а также отдельного аналогичного инструмента для психического здоровья, чтобы лучше понять бремя психического здоровья в нашей стране и создать обоснование и поддержку для значительного увеличения инвестиций в психическое здоровье. Мы также ожидаем поддержки от целевой группы в разработке, продвижении закона о налоге на соду, налоге на табак, налоге на алкоголь и другие вредные продукты. Достижения Кыргызстана в области цифрового здравоохранения, регистрация каждого визита на первичке на электронной платформе, внесение в нее данных о факторах риска НИС позволяет проводить анализ вмешательств при гипертонии и сахарном диабете. Мы надеемся на поддержку целевой группы на этом направлении, включая создание национального кейса цифрового здравоохранения для продвижения усилий правительства по продвижению и внедрению технологических решений профилактики и лечении заболеваний. Мы благодарны за постоянную поддержку целевой группы в оказании помощи Кыргызской Республике, снижении неблагоприятных медицинских, экономических и социальных последствий НИС. Мы приветствуем создание мультипартнерского трастового фонда и считаем, что он позволит странам ускорить комплексные меры по борьбе с НИС и психическим здоровьем, а также продолжить развитие систем здравоохранения. Большое спасибо.
Well, thank you, Minister, for connecting and giving us the wisdom of your thoughts and experience. Very helpful indeed. Let's move on now to His Excellency's Dr. Marcelo Quiroga, who is the Minister of Health from Brazil. And I understand this is going to be done in Portuguese with subtitles, which I assume will be in English. I'm not sure whether or not we'll be having them in all languages, but let's move over to that.
Senhoras e senhores, gostaria de felicitar o Uruguai e a Organização Mundial da Saúde pela organização deste evento e reiterar o forte compromisso do governo brasileiro com a prevenção e controle das doenças crônicas não transmissíveis e com a promoção da saúde mental. Parabenizamos a Força-Tarefa Interagências da ONU pela nova estratégia 2022-2025 e pelas conquistas já alcançadas. Saúdo, em especial, a criação do Fundo Health for Life, com vistas a catalisar a ação dos países na área de doenças crônicas não transmissíveis e saúde mental, oferecendo aos Estados-membros uma resposta holística da ONU para combater tais enfermidades, em um modelo participativo, inclusivo e orientando para a equidade. Entre as várias políticas nacionais de saúde, gostaria de destacar nossas ações para o enfrentamento da obesidade em todas as fases do curso da vida. Reconhecemos que as práticas alimentares são determinantes da saúde e nutrição das populações e que a alimentação inadequada e a inatividade física estão associadas à má nutrição em todas as suas formas, incluindo a obesidade. Durante o Tokyo Nutrition for Growth Summit em 2021, o Brasil se comprometeu a reduzir a prevalência de obesidade em crianças e adolescentes em 2%, por meio da Estratégia Nacional de Prevenção e Cuidados à Obesidade Infantil, o PROTEJA. O PROTEJA tem como objetivo deter o avanço da obesidade infantil e contribuir para o cuidado e para a melhoria da saúde e da nutrição das nossas crianças, por meio de 20 ações essenciais e 41 ações complementares intersetoriais que promovem cidades mais saudáveis para as crianças e famílias brasileiras. Atualmente, 1.300 cidades já aderiram ao programa e recebem incentivos financeiros do Ministério da Saúde para a implementação das ações ao longo de 3 anos. O Brasil também assumiu o compromisso com a Organização Mundial da Saúde com o plano de aceleração da redução da obesidade, reforçando a prioridade da agenda no país. Fomos informados que o Brasil receberá hoje um prêmio da Força Tarefa. Essa é uma grande prova da eficiência do trabalho do Ministério da Saúde no combate à obesidade infantil. Agradeço o reconhecimento de nosso trabalho e reitero o firme compromisso de juntos avançarmos nessa jornada.
Thank you very much indeed, Minister, for that. Let's now move on to the Honourable Dr. Mangueiro, who is the Deputy Minister of Health and Childcare in Zimbabwe. Do we have Dr. Mangueiro, please? Okay, well, it may be that Dr. Mangueiro is having a bit of difficulty in connecting up. We'll look into that. Let's now move on. You've heard from some of the task force members, and there are some 45 members of the task force. And each and every one has a very important role to play. I just want to pick out one at the moment, which is the Office of the High Commission on Human Rights. They are holding a side event next week during their Human Rights Council meeting, and it'll be a mixture of both. It'll be a virtual and an in-person meeting, a hybrid meeting, and we would encourage as many people as possible to attend, and we'll get information to you on what that will be. But clearly the link between human rights and mental health and non-communicable diseases are very important, and that brings us back to our testimony that we heard earlier today. So let's now move over to another of our absolutely key members, which is the Framework Convention for Tobacco Control Secretariat. And I'm delighted that we've got Adriana Blanco to talk to us as the head of the Secretariat. Adriana, are you there?
Yes, thank you very much, Nick. Excellencies, honorable ministers, colleagues and friends. On behalf of the Secretariat of the WHO Framework Convention on Tobacco Control, and as a co-sponsor of this meeting, I warmly welcome all of you to this event during the 77th session of the UN General Assembly. This is not an easy time for our work. We are still experiencing the effects of the terrible COVID-19 pandemic, while inflation is rising fast and national debts are growing. It will be hard to raise resources when governments are focused on the immediate needs of their peoples. For those of us fighting against non-communicable diseases in pursuit of the UN's 2030 Sustainable Development Goals, and especially Goal 3, will require us to reduce premature mortality from NCDs by a third by 2020. It is a challenge to make the case for investment and to ask everybody to focus on what might look like a long-term issue. The good news is that we have volumes of evidence to show the damage done by NCDs, both to individual humans and to wider society, and to show the extraordinary benefits of government action. For example, a 2020 WHO report showed that investing $1, only $1 in NCD prevention and control measures in low and middle income countries show a return of $7. More importantly, this investment will prevent close to 7 million NCD deaths by 2030. In 2012, smoking alone accounted for 5.6% of global healthcare spending. Add in productivity in losses, and the total economic cost of smoking was equivalent to 1.8% of global gross domestic product, with 40% of costs failing on the developing world. Money matters. Tobacco control, that is the entire purpose of the WHO FCTC and its protocol, needs also funding to deliver life-saving results. That is why in 2021, our governing bodies authorized the creation of investment funds managed by the World Bank to complement the existing funding for tobacco control. This will aid our effort to assist a central element of the NCD work, thinking that tobacco kills 14% of all the people over 30 years dying from NCDs, or what is the same, about 1 death in 7. Our NCD partners have also launched a new fund, and I'm delighted to welcome the Health for Life Fund, which will make grants to expand access to treatment and strengthen prevention in support of SDG 3.4. We must also remember self-sustaining financial tools as requested in the 2015 Addis Ababa Action Agenda. For example, simple levies like tobacco taxes, which deter consumption and help fund the development agenda, including NCD-related costs. Challenging the industry responsible for this human manufactured pandemic, an industry that kills at least 8 million people a year, is central to our work. Given its history, it's also predictable that the industry will keep working hard to undermine the implementation of the WHO FCTC and to keep consumers hooked. That is why Article 5.3 of the Convention, which protects public health policies for interference from the tobacco industry and other vested interests, is so important, and why we regularly remind parties of their obligations in this matter. The tobacco industry cannot, should not participate in any step of the policy decision-making process. There are enormous challenges ahead of us and much work to do, but we have the tools to do the job, and together we will make progress on these critical life-saving efforts. Thank you.
Thank you, Adriana, for that and for your powerful message. Let's now move on, and I'm delighted that we have got Norway as a recognized global champion of NCD prevention control with us. And I think that we've got Ingunn Vatne, who's going to speak, who's the Deputy Director at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Are you there?
I am indeed.
Fantastic. Welcome. Thanks a lot for joining us. over to you.
Thank you for inviting Norway to say a few words today. Thank you to the task force and the Friends Group for keeping NCDs high on the agenda. We are still in the midst of a pandemic, but if we have learned anything from COVID-19, it is how connected issues are across health challenges and across sectors of society. Norway is much engaged in discussions on future pandemic prevention, preparedness, and response. And it is clear that the best preparedness for any health emergency is robust national health systems. Health systems must be set up to be resilient and responsive and to answer to the actual needs of the population. I'm sorry, I'm hearing someone else speaking now. I'm sorry, someone else seems to be speaking. Should I continue?
Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you. As I was just saying, health systems must be set up to be resilient and responsive and to answer to the actual needs of the population. And as I'm sure we all know, the highest burden of disease comes from non-communicable diseases. It is also increasingly a problem in low and middle income settings. NCDs pose significant development and poverty challenges, as well as inequality challenges, and we have to address them if we are to reach the Sustainable Development Goals. Norway's NCD development program was launched in 2020. The aim is to support primarily low-income countries to ensure quality health delivery, offering adequate NCD services, including for mental health disorders. Working with other sectors is essential in order to prevent risks that stem from, for example, unhealthy diets, air pollution, tobacco, and harmful use of alcohol. We believe that investing in strengthening health systems and integrated programming of NCDs and mental health is the sustainable way forward, rather than vertical approaches. This is why we see the WHO's programs, Pathway for Care, as well as the Special Initiative for Mental Health, as important channels. Both programs strengthen access to NCD and mental health services through primary healthcare and through investments in human resources, capacity building, and quality of services. We need to work with partner countries to strengthen health systems to include NCDs and mental health. Global health agencies should align with and support national priorities and programs, and strive towards joint funding to scale up implementation and strengthen access to promotion, prevention, and medical services for NCDs as part of the Universal Health Coverage Agenda. Finally, we would like to encourage others, both countries themselves, donors, and partners, to support NCD programs specifically, but also through efforts to strengthen health systems, build capacity in the health force, strengthen primary health care, and thereby realize universal health coverage. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. That's very helpful. Keeping into the European region, we're going to hear from Dr. Hans Kluge now, who's the director for the regional office for the European region. So, Hans, the floor is yours.
Head of the UN Task Force Secretariat, heads of state, prime ministers, ministers, dear friends. The COVID-19 pandemic has claimed more than 2 million lives in the WHO European region, covering 53 countries across Europe and Central Asia. Sobering though this number is, the toll taken by non-communicable diseases is many times higher. Even as we strive to emerge from the pandemic using all the tools available to us, let us also shine an ever brighter light on the burden of NCDs and work even harder to tackle them. Consider the data. Alcohol-related illness is responsible for 10% of all deaths in the WHO European region. Of the 6 WHO regions, ours has the highest prevalence of tobacco smoking among adults. 1 in 3 adults are insufficiently physically active and fail to meet WHO recommendations on physical activity. For more than 2 years now, COVID-19 has shone an uncomfortable light on the inadequacies of the region's strategies to tackle obesity, including an alarming rise in childhood obesity, compromising the future health and well-being of the children of today. These are the stark facts. But all is not doom and gloom. We are also the only region with an office whose task is to solely focus on NCDs. The Office for the Prevention and Control of NCDs, first established in 2014, is now recognized as a global center of excellence, a powerhouse of innovation and research. And its excellent work has contributed to ambitious, far-sighted, yet practical policies and frameworks that have the potential, if implemented well, to transform the landscape of health. Indeed, despite turbulent years with COVID and other ongoing challenges, the region has seen a significant reduction of premature NCD mortality. Let me list a few of our achievements. We launched a childhood obesity surveillance initiative that helped us understand why 1 in 3 children between 6 and 9 years in our region live with overweight or obesity, and how to best respond. We designed tools, very practical tools, enabling member states to understand and regulate the digital marketing of unhealthy products. We hosted a major conference on tackling NCDs through digital solutions in December last year in Moscow in the Russian Federation to discuss how to build back smarter and how digital health can help address the impact of COVID-19 on NCDs. We developed an app to monitor marketing exposure on children's phones and use artificial intelligence to analyze and assess the data collected. We started a project to enhance the use of brief but powerful interventions in primary healthcare and promote an integrated approach when addressing NCD risk factors. I established an advisory council on innovation encompassing signature initiatives to accelerate action on tackling NCDs. Initiatives that are to galvanize action toward the 4th high-level meeting of the 2025 UN General Assembly on NCD prevention and control. We coordinate NCD training courses for early and mid-career professionals developed by WHO collaborating centers and partner organizations. We have run seminars to empower early career NCD researchers and foster new collaborations. We are launching integrated, innovative approaches to address cardiovascular disease risk prevention and disease management, country by country. And this is only a fraction. Digital health features heavily in our work to address NCDs, as does mental health, which plays a big role in physical health outcomes too. And both are flagships of the European Programme of Work. Every single project I have listed is designed to go from regional to global. Our big data approach to addressing NCDs, harnessing artificial intelligence and linking the UN Climate Action Agenda with obesity can be applied anywhere in the world. The scope, however, for reducing disease burden and improving quality of life remains vast. And I should emphasize that coverage and quality of implementing evidence-based NCD prevention and care varies greatly between the 53 member states we serve, pointing to the health and development disparities between nations. We know perfectly well what works to prevent and control NCDs. The challenge is how to best support countries to apply the right tools at the right time. This is a long-haul process, and in adapting to an ever-changing context of public health, we apply a dual-track approach. Dual-track is the new normal. It means maintain all routine services and efforts that prevent and manage an old flu, NCDs, while also responding to current and future health emergencies. That is our new normal, and we must strategize better for it. Thank you for your attention, Excellencies. My full support.
Thank you so much, Hans, for that. Let's now move our attention to explore a little bit more in the area that Alexei was describing in his presentation. He talked about digital health support, and he talked about the importance of partnerships. The call from ECOSOC for the task force to scale up its work on digital health, and partnerships being a recurring theme throughout the life of the task force, and indeed one of the key objectives under the new strategy. And so it's a pleasure to explore this area in a little bit more detail, and in the first instance to give the floor to Dr. Michael Howell, who is the Chief Clinical Officer at Google. Michael, are you with us?
I am.
Welcome.
Thank you, and it's an honor to be here. You know, we work really hard to do our work in partnership, and I think you've seen this play out very clearly throughout COVID, where the WHO and many countries' public health agencies have been amazing partners, and I hope that we've been good partners too. We're really excited to be part of today's conversation, and we have three areas where we think as a company we can lean in and make a difference in improving non-communicable disease outcomes. Those are consumers, care teams, and community context. And I'll give a couple of examples from each of those. First, we believe that information is a determinant of health, and so we focus on helping people in their daily lives, which we call consumer health. We try to help people find the best information on platforms like search and YouTube. We work to lift up authoritative, credible voices across all conditions. And in particular, we've worked very hard to support users' needs in mental and behavioral health, whether they're in a moment of crisis or in their daily lives. We also work to fight against misinformation. For example, in the first 18 months of COVID, YouTube removed more than 1 million videos related to dangerous coronavirus information, like claims of a hoax or false cures. Our work also extends to helping people understand more about their own health and wellness with sensors that can help people understand more about their sleep, or even about serious conditions like atrial fibrillation, a tool that's now available in more than 20 countries on some Fitbit devices. But we also work to bring the newest technology to bear to help caregivers, by which we mean doctors, nurses, community health workers, and others. And I'll talk about just one of those areas, how artificial intelligence and machine learning can help make health screenings more accessible. For example, in maternal health, we're working on early research to see if AI can enable more providers to use ultrasound to perform prenatal assessments, an important aspect of care. For diabetic retinopathy, we've worked with partners in India and Thailand to use AI to screen for this very common cause of preventable blindness. And for breast cancer, we're working with partners to conduct studies to see whether artificial intelligence can reduce the time to diagnosis for people undergoing breast cancer screening. We also know that where we live, work, learn, and play determines the majority of our health outcomes, and so we focus on community context. For example, we use machine learning to alert users and communities of impending floods, and last year our program sent out over 115 million of these alerts. We also know that road traffic injuries are the leading cause of death for some age groups, specifically recognized in the SDG targets. With many people turning to Google Maps for navigation, last year we announced a feature that can help people take routes that reduce the chances of encountering a place where they have to brake emergently. We also help keep people informed about air quality through the air quality layer on Google Maps for both Android and iOS. Those are the three areas that we work on that we think can help with non-communicable diseases: consumer health, helping caregivers, and community context. And thank you again for having us. We're really grateful to participate today.
Thanks so much, Michael. That's very helpful. We've heard from a number of the different speakers about the importance of innovation. And so our next set of speakers reflect on that in a bit more detail. I'm going to ask Glenn Weil, the founder of Radical Exchange Foundation and a political economist and social technologist, at the Microsoft Research Special Projects, to speak to us a little bit about their work. Glenn, are you there?
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be with you all. I want to start by apologizing by saying that I'm not in any form an expert on non-communicable disease. That's not what I work on. I instead work on innovative funding mechanisms. And that's something I've heard mentioned at many points. And I thought I would just tell you about some of the innovations that are going on within the blockchain space in new ways of supporting public goods. I helped develop with Vitalik Buterin, who is the founder of Ethereum, a system called quadratic funding, which is a mechanism for deploying philanthropic, government-sponsored, or other public good-oriented funds in settings where, as we often discuss in the marketplace, it's hard for any central authority to determine what is most needed. But unlike in marketplace settings, we don't have confidence that profit motive will be a sufficient mechanism to achieve the public ends that we want, because either the people we're serving don't have the means, or simply because there's no good business model that manages to be both inclusive and to serve the people who need it. So quadratic funding offers an approach here where we look for market incentives and market signals, but in ways that are oriented towards the public good rather than private profit. The way that it works is that there are central funds by a philanthropist or government that are used to match private charitable contributions to a cause, but according to a very particular formula. So many of you are probably familiar with the notion of matching funds, but usually it's like a 2-for-1 match or a 3-for-1 match, etc. Here, the notion is that the match amount depends both on the people, the number of distinct people who are contributing to the system, as well as on the amounts that they contribute. So if you get small contributions from a large number of people, that matters more than a large contribution from a single person. This overcomes the standard free rider and public goods problems. I won't get into the mathematical details of precisely how it works. I'll post a link for those interested into the chat. But this has been widely used for the development of open source software in the Ethereum ecosystem. It's been critical to that ecosystem succeeding, scaling, and as some of you may have heard, achieving a significant innovation recently with their merge. It's also been important in a number of public and governmental contexts, such as the government of Taiwan, which is using it to support a number of things from health to environmental impact, et cetera. So I'd encourage you to consider the possibility of sort of harnessing that kind of decentralized crowd-oriented intelligence as a way of deploying funds in conditions where you want to get that signal from the market, but you don't want it to just go through a private profit motive process. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much indeed, Glenn. Let's quickly move over on to Unexia, which I think we heard from Alexei Kulikov when he was giving his introduction. Jeremy Lauer, who's had a distinguished career in WHO as an economist, is now professor at the University of Strathclyde and a founder of Unexia. Jeremy, are you there?
Yes, Nick, thank you. Do you hear me okay?
Yeah, welcome.
Well, Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We have few success stories in global health, but today I have a message of hope. We have some of the best policies. Unfortunately, few of them are taken to scale. The only recent exception was the massive increase in coverage of antiretroviral therapy for people living with HIV. With the Millennium Development Goals, we also witnessed similar successes for malaria and tuberculosis. However, we in global health don't talk about success. We talk about our policies, such as universal health coverage, or the Global Action Plan for the Prevention and Control of Non-Communicable Diseases. We seem to think our job is finished when the policy is formulated. It's like a car maker who sells plans for a beautiful automobile that its customers can build at home by themselves when they can't afford the materials. The success of the MDGs proves, and if you remember one thing, remember this: policy linked to catalytic financing, linked to local implementers, linked to proven solutions gets done. Success equals policy plus financing plus implementers plus solutions. That's the model of the Global Fund. It's simple, though we think it's hard. The MDGs weren't even a beautiful policy, but they got done. The reason that UHC and the Sustainable Development Goals aren't is government and market failures. One thing governments are supposed to do is fix market failure. So when they don't, that's a government failure. With UHC and the SDGs, we have government failure on top of market failure. Getting policy done doesn't depend on a perfect policy. In the case of the MDGs, it depended on $50 billion spent by the Global Fund over 20 years. That's nothing. The world's governments spent at least 22 trillion on COVID relief in 2 years. That's a lot of money. Yet the biggest increase in history in the coverage of interventions for HIV, TB, and malaria was bought for 1/500th of what was spent on COVID. That's called catalytic financing. Now, if the governments of the world cannot or will not, because of other priorities, cough up a few $1 billion a year to bring catalytic financing to NCD prevention and control, then others will have to do so. That's why, following our successful launch, UNEXIA intends to commit up to 1/3 of the value of its network to our global health partners. That's why the multi-partner trust fund, Health for Life, is our pioneering partner. That's why our commitment to Health for Life is expected to be equivalent to at least $50 million. UNEXIA is an innovative global health financing mechanism using blockchain. UNEXIA builds on the success of the Global Fund, but UNEXIA goes where they cannot. If traditional actors, such as governments or the Global Fund, cannot finance agreed policies, such as the Global Action Plan for NCDs, then non-traditional actors will have to do so. UNEXIA will, in time, bring catalytic financing to any organization that can connect our funding to proven interventions done by local implementers, in countries, by countries, and for countries. As my colleague Glenn Weil has just said, we have the technologies and we have the design solutions. So to do so is a moral imperative. UNEXIA hopes to fill a gap where others have, at least until now, failed. And I speak first about NCDs. I encourage all of you, but especially representatives of governments, to ask how you can fill this gap. The health of the world depends on it, literally. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you very much for being with us and for your powerful words. Finally, I'd like to invite Ravi Bhatnagar to share a perspective on partnering with the task force and promoting digital health. Ravi is the Director of External Affairs and Partnerships at the Reckitt Foundation. Ravi, are you there?
Yep.
Over to you.
Thank you so much. Very good evening, very good morning, good afternoon to all of you. Why I'm here? Because our purpose is to fight to make access the highest quality hygiene, wellness, and nourishment a right and not a privilege. From over last 10 years, we are working on leaving no one behind. And from Reckitt, we acknowledge the call upon the UN Interagency Task Force on the NCDs from the UN Economic and Social Council to support member states in intensifying the use of digital health technologies for the prevention and control of non-communicable disease and mental health conditions. Reckitt welcomes the task force on digital health track and stands ready to provide support to scale up the work of the task force in improving access to health information and resources online through the application of digital health technologies. Reckitt looks forward for the development of the partnerships with the task force in promoting digital health at the regional and the country level. Right now, we have India's biggest health campaign, which is there from over last 10 years and most celebrated one. The last one, last year, the last season was basically all focused on leaving no one behind with the megastar Amitabh Bachchan, who is also seen as a star of the millennium and very famous in various parts of the world. And we have him as a brand ambassador. Along with him, we have we do a lot of work on the blockchain. We work on the social return on investments on all the projects that we do in the social impact investment space. We support UNAIDS. We support UNHCR in India. We support UN Women. We also support Global Fund. We look forward to put our our energies and bringing our partners and partnerships on board, so that on the mental health as well as on the NCDs too, we start work in India and other parts of the world wherever we are present. And thank you so much for having me here. Thank you.
Ravi, thanks very much indeed for joining us today, and we look forward to continuing collaboration in the future. That concludes the speakers, and it's now time to move on to our next agenda item, which is the 2022 Task Force Awards. And it's my pleasure to invite Dr. Soraya Dalil, who's the director of the special program on primary healthcare in WHO, to introduce this. Soraya, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Nick. Distinguished delegates, dear diplomats, friends, and colleagues, congratulations to Uruguay Ministry of Health and the Secretariat of the Interagency Task Force for organizing this event. This year, the task force is joining with the WHO Special Program on Primary Health Care, with the award scheme being expanded to recognize the work in primary care for prevention and control of NCDs and prevention of mental health. We thank all of those ministries of health, other ministries within the government, and non-governmental organizations who took part in the nomination process. The WHO Special Program on Primary Health Care is proud to be a partner of the United Nations Interagency Task Force on the prevention and control of non-communicable diseases, and recognizing achievements on multi-sectoral action in the prevention and control of NCD, mental health, and the wider NCD-related sustainable development goals. This year, we are putting a spotlight on primary care for the prevention and control of NCDs. It's excellent to see the dedication and work of governments, both within and outside the health sector, and the non-state actors in doing their part on NCDs and mental health based on primary healthcare strategies. The primary healthcare-oriented health systems are the health systems that are organized and operated so as to make the right to highest attainable level of health the main goal, while maximizing equity and solidarity. So human rights, social justice, equity and solidarity, and community participation are the core principles in the PHC strategy. Primary healthcare is the space where intersectorality naturally happens and represent an opportunity to coordinate multi-sectoral efforts, decentralize, include, and innovate. While we know that primary healthcare comes at a cost, a financial cost, not strengthening primary healthcare will be much more expensive to governments and to communities across the world. Evidence reveals that primary healthcare-oriented health systems have consistently produced better health outcomes, enhanced equity, and improved efficiency. Scaling up primary healthcare interventions across low and middle-income countries could save up to 16 million lives and increase average life expectancy by 3.7 years by 2030. Primary healthcare offers an opportunity to leverage whole of society and whole of government resources and multi-sectoral reviews to inform and sustain plans, action, and investment for health. Let me now explain more on the award themselves. Awards recognizes outstanding commitments and actions to prevent and control NCDs and to deliver integrated, people-centered primary care. Winners were selected on the basis of demonstrated commitment to multi-sectoral action in the prevention and control of NCDs, mental health, and/or multi-sectoral action, and demonstrated results at the primary care for prevention and control of NCDs, mental health, and NCD-related SDGs. In making their decision, the education panel looked for evidence of the following: creating new and innovative approaches and activities, leading the agenda and work with partners, mobilizing resources, knowledge, and expertise, meeting challenges and overcome significant obstacles, and acting as an exemplar to others. This year, nominations were specifically encouraged for organizations working with children and youth, as well as those working with vulnerable and minority groups. Nominations were also encouraged that highlighted action, maintaining focus on the NCD-related SDGs as part of COVID-19 response. In conclusion, I would like to first thank the Interagency Task Force on the prevention and control of NCDs for working tirelessly and leading the change in this very important occasion. And second, congratulate this year's awardees for the extraordinary work that they have done. It's through achievements like this that we can reshape how the world understands primary health care, particularly its context, its drivers, its dynamics, and its implementation, and make it fit for purpose for the 21st century through generating evidence and scaling up innovations, promoting policy and partnership, and focusing on country-level action. Back to you, Nick, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, Soraya. So this year, we have 18 winners, and awards are being made in 3 categories. The first is Ministries of Health, or government agencies under a Ministry of Health. The second is ministries or government agencies beyond health. And the third one is non-state actors, i.e. non-governmental organizations, academic institutions, and philanthropy. So first, winners in the category of Ministries of Health, or agencies under a Ministry of Health, we have 7 winners. The first is the Ministry of Health Bhutan for the successful implementation of the Service with Care and Compassion Initiative, a people-centered approach to the delivery of NCD services at the district level in Bhutan. The Ministry of Health Brazil for their leadership and outstanding contribution to multi-sectoral action in the prevention and control of NCDs through the Proteja program. the national strategy to halt the rise of childhood obesity, which has been an exemplar for innovative, comprehensive intersectoral action at the local level. The Ministry of Health and Family Welfare India and the Indian Council of Medical Research for the India Hypertension Control Initiative, a highly impactful large-scale hypertension initiative within India's existing primary care system. The eHealth Center, Kyrgyzstan, for scaling up digital health in primary care with a particular emphasis on the prevention and control of NCDs. The Ministry of Health, Panama, in recognition of their continuous efforts and commitment to prevent and control NCDs through the Global Hearts Package in primary care. The Ministry of Health, Tunisia, in recognition of their continuous efforts and commitment to multi-sectoral action to prevent and control NCDs, including tobacco control and the adoption of large graphic health warnings on tobacco products, and the leadership of His Excellency, the Minister of Health, Professor Ali Mribat. And finally, the Ministry of Health, Uganda, in recognition of their exemplary approach to driving progress on alcohol control through partnerships and multi-sectoral cooperation. In the category of ministries or government agencies beyond health, we have one winner, and that is the Mairie de Douala in Douala City in Cameroon for their innovative initiative to promote the health and well-being of the communities living in the city, including NCDs and their risk factors based on civic engagement, participative and multi-sectoral approaches for good governance to become a healthy city. And finally, in the category of non-state actors, we have the following winners. Reconciliation and Development Association Cameroon for their achievements in the prevention and control of NCDs in Cameroon by providing a multi-sectoral platform engaging youth and leading advocacy actions at the community and national level. The Eastern Mediterranean Public Health Network for their achievements in strengthening provision of NCD services at the primary healthcare level across countries in the Eastern Mediterranean region, including by promoting greater multi-sectoral coordination of the NCD response for Jordan citizens and for refugee populations. The Karaguzian Association for Child Welfare in Lebanon for providing and scaling up high-quality, safe, comprehensive, integrated, accessible, available, and affordable primary healthcare services, including around NCD screening and control and mental health and psychosocial support in Lebanon. The Lesotho Boston Health Alliance, in recognition of the achievements on strengthening Lesotho's health system by providing context-specific primary healthcare training for healthcare providers at the community level. The Moroccan League, for the fight against diabetes, for their key role in raising awareness and building capacity around the prevention and control of diabetes, which contributed to the adoption of a tax on sugary drinks in Morocco. The European Forum for Primary Care in the Netherlands for providing an exemplary platform for primary healthcare professionals to collaborate and jointly strengthen action across Europe, including advocating for ever stronger, fairer, and equitable primary care. The Rwanda NCD Alliance, in recognition of encouraging ever greater multi-sectoral collaboration on NCDs in Rwanda, including supporting the establishment of the NCD National Multi-Sectoral Coordination Committee and by assisting the government implement the national NCD strategy. Aroiga World in the US for scaling up community-based delivery models to strengthen prevention and control of diabetes at the population level across 19 states in India. The University Eduardo Mondlane Center for Integration Science at Brigham and Women's Hospital, which is a joint initiative of the NCD Synergies Project at Partners in Health, and the Program on Global NCDs and Social Change at Harvard Medical School, in recognition of their leadership of the NCDI Poverty Network, which generates data, implements programs, fosters multi-sectoral partnerships, and raises awareness to prevent and reduce the death and suffering of those doubly affected by extreme poverty and NCDs and injuries. And finally, the Primary Care International, Oxford, UK, for their technical and advocacy support for the promotion of integrated primary healthcare across the world by adapting NCD-related normative guidance, as well as promoting multi-sectoral partnerships to strengthen primary healthcare and tackle non-communicable diseases. Congratulations to all those who have been awarded today. We all look forward to hearing progress on your work, and I hope that these awards encourage ever greater action by both those awarded and others. Now, the usual approach is that we don't have people responding to these awards, but I do understand that there is one person that is very eager. Well, there are a lot of people that are very eager to speak, but one person that I'm going to ask to speak and reflect on the awards, and that's the Minister of Health in Bhutan. Is the Minister of Health there?
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Am I audible?
You are, yes, loud and clear.
Perfect. Thank you for the opportunity. I think when I say this, I think I want to convey our gratitude to the task force and the WHO for the award as well. But more importantly, I also wanted to highlight the recent development that has taken place in our part of the world. We have recently completed our 75th regional committee meeting of WHO, where we, at the ministerial level, we adopted the Paro Declaration, which is a declaration on mental health, integrating mental health services so that we are able to deliver mental health services using the primary healthcare model as the backbone. Similarly, I think we also see a lot of opportunity to integrate mental health into delivering NCD as well. So it's really wonderful to see the strategy going forward, looking at integrating mental health services in the NCD as well. If you look at it, I think 970 million people in 2019 suffer from mental health, of which 260 is in our part of the world, where there's a significant gap in treatment, approximately accounting to around 76 to 85% treatment gap. So you can see there is a significant amount of population with no access to services at this point. I think I welcome the idea of establishing a fund there to mobilize resources, to build in an investment case, to invest in preventing, not only preventing mental health NCDs, but also looking at how can we improve access to treatment for NCDs as well. Cancer in our part of the world is a major concern. NCD diabetes is a major concern. So looking 10 years into the future, we have to strategize technologies and resources to be able to provide NCD services, especially treatment, to people that need these services. So with that, I really want to express our appreciation to the task force for highlighting this critical gap in the current health agenda. And we would also like to congratulate the award winners for their achievement as well. So I once again would like to thank the task force for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Minister, and I sincerely apologise to the other 17 award winners who are not able to take the floor. We are running quite a bit behind, and so I don't know if Dr. Miguel Esquella is still there, and if you are, whether you would be prepared to provide some final remarks before we close. Dr. Esquella, are you there?
Sí.
Over to you to close the meeting then.
Muchísimas gracias, Nick. Y en ti, así como en todo el equipo, sintetizamos el enorme agradecimiento por el gran esfuerzo que se ha realizado y que se vio fructificado en esta maravillosa reunión. Algunas palabras finales, muy breves. Queda claro el consenso global, el gran consenso que existió sobre el enorme impacto que sobre la salud de las poblaciones tienen las enfermedades crónicas no transmisibles y las particulares referencias que se han hecho a la salud mental. Su gran carga sobre los sistemas de salud y sobre la economía y el desarrollo de los países. También hubo consenso sobre que es inadmisible a esta altura, en el siglo XXI, que no se acelere el progreso, sobre todo pues los más vulnerables y las nuevas generaciones, sobre todo niños y adolescentes, son los más afectados. Y repito, no es que van a ser, son ya los más afectados, lo cual condena a un peor estatus sanitario de la humanidad para el futuro. También hay un fortísimo consenso sobre que es demasiado fuerte la evidencia sobre la importancia y el rendimiento de las inversiones en prevenir factores de riesgo, así como detectar oportunamente y controlar de forma adecuada las diversas enfermedades crónicas no transmisibles. Valga el ejemplo que puso nuestra compatriota y amiga, la doctora Adriana Blanco, directora de la jefe de Secretaría del Convenio Marco para el Control del Tabaco, en el cual ejemplificó que por cada dólar invertido en estas políticas puede haber un rendimiento de hasta $7 a medio y largo plazo, con un crecimiento posterior del PBI de los países. Y varios otros integrantes del distinguido panel hicieron referencia a lo mismo. También hubo consenso sobre la vinculación entre salud y derechos humanos. Estimados diversos pactos, convenciones mundiales a la cual adhieren todos los países presentes y la propia Constitución de la Organización Mundial de la Salud nos indican el clarísimo vínculo entre salud y derechos humanos. Están allí, están del otro lado de las ventanas, están por fuera de estas oficinas, nuestros congéneres, los humanos, que están esperando que se aceleren los procesos a que estamos obligados y mandatados por nuestras normas, por la responsabilidad de los cargos que ostentamos quienes trabajamos en el Estado y por lo que han expresado quienes participan de diversas organizaciones. Por todo ello, y en el final, me congratulo por la unanimidad de opiniones. Y por otra parte, queremos establecer la clarísima y gran importancia de este fondo, Health for Life, en esta nueva etapa promovida por la OMS y sus socios estratégicos, y destacar la tarea del equipo de tareas interinstitucional de las Naciones Unidas para la prevención y control de las AIDS. Hacemos un llamado a la búsqueda de nuevos socios. Tenemos que salir de acá dispuestos a difundir esta idea, a promoverla y a comprometernos a que cada uno de nosotros aporte nuevos socios para esta titánica tarea que tenemos por delante, sea de los estados o sea de diversas organizaciones internacionales, científicas, las agencias, los filántropos y las diversas organizaciones de la sociedad civil. Sin duda, entre todos contribuiremos a llegar a un buen puerto. Solo en el final, Nick, veamos todos si podemos resistir la mirada de nuestros hijos o de nuestros nietos, que cuando nos preguntan ¿en qué estás trabajando?, le podamos decir en dejarles a todos ustedes un mundo mejor. Muchísimas gracias.